Jamthe, and this is Sudha Live. I'm missing you all for the last 2 weeks. I was out traveling in India and I visited the Bay of Bengal, which is the sea on the right side of India. And it reached is into the Far East from there. And I had an existential crisis. I was thinking about Global South, being in the Global South, and the kind of topics that we've been talking about. And I was in a place called Chennai, a city called Chennai, and there was so much AI courses everywhere, AI in ads and healthcare and whatnot all around us. And even in the airport, I heard somebody talking about generative AI. So we've been saying, the whole generative AI buzz is here in global north and what's happening in global south. And India is one country, and I went to one city, and it might be my bias of what I was tuning in, but it's happening. It's reaching everywhere. But what is it really doing in local languages? What is it doing for people is what me and Susanna Raj and Parya and Yash are focused at Global South in AI from New Ripe. Yes. I was going to say New Rips, Global South in AI at New Rips conference. So, for those of you who are new to this, I'm a technology futurist from Silicon Valley. I like technology in every form, and then I kind of going to turn skeptical on what is causing growth, what is ethical. And my calling is to help my students. I teach in several places. I teach AI at Stanford Continuing Studies for professional adults, career pivoting to AI and autonomous vehicles and new exponential technologies. I also teach AI ethics at Barcelona Technology School, and I host. Right now, I have two courses on LinkedIn Learning, teaching AI using no code AI. One is called Learning AI with no code AI, very obvious name, and another is Artificial Intelligence in Connected Devices, which is IoT. Since I've written books about IoT, autonomous vehicles, and AI and generative AI, so that's the breadth of my portfolio. But in terms of my projects or what I'm talking to you here today, I bring the latest trends in AI, which happens to be in generative AI these days. That's the big buzz. And I try to demystify all the buzz and try to bring resources and analysis on what I think, my take on how the ecosystem is shifting, how business models are shifting, where are the opportunities here for you. Because when you're new to this or you're sitting and focusing on one area of this, when you look at it, it's easy to feel very intimidated. Even if you're working on one area, you feel intimidated. If you're not working on it, it's the intimidation is higher. And so and if there is a big hype going on around it, so it's easy to get skeptical. I believe generative AI is valuable and is here to stay and is already creating value in certain places, is creating harm in certain cases. But there is a lot of opportunity for you to do something about it in terms of your career, in terms of your companies, in terms of your startup, in terms of your life, in terms of your country, your society, and your local community. There might be more ways you can think of applying generative AI to do something useful for your life or your passion or what you're interested in. So that's what I'm going to talk about. So this Sudha Live, I do this for half an hour. I usually say half an hour. I go for another 10 more minutes. And all the links that I'm going to be sharing here will be up on my newsletter, Jamthe newsletter, that goes out on Monday, thanks to Parya Sarin. And it is bit.ly/Jamthe newsletter. And I will come back. This is streaming in YouTube and this is streaming onto LinkedIn. I will look at LinkedIn and answer your queries, or I'll come back and share some of the resources there. I will not be coming to YouTube to answer the questions there because just to keep the focus. And what else? Logistics wise. Okay, let's get started. So one, I'm going to give you analysis, trends and ecosystem shifts, because people are asking me every single day. I'm not exaggerating. Every single day I get a ping saying, okay, what do I pick? What technology do I pick? My students are leaders, product managers, business leaders in latest technology. So they are in the cutting edge and they ping me and say, what technology should I bet on? Should I go with this tool? How is this going to shift? And the what everybody is asking for is, how is this going to be, and where is it going to stabilize? What is the tech stack? Where is it going to land? And some of you are interested in seeing where are the gaps so that you can innovate and build startups. Some of you are building buy versus build decisions inside companies, and you want to see what you can bet on, and there must be more, right? And in my in my book, this is Kindle book available on Amazon. And thank you for somebody who pointed out that my generative AI book was not updated. It was still saying pre-order. I've changed that. So the book is live. Generative AI, a primer for product and business managers. It's a Kindle book available on Amazon. I believe everywhere in the world you can access it. If you can't, if you're watching this, if you have access to the internet and to Sudha Live and you don't have access to my book, tell me and I'll give you a free copy by old-fashioned email. And so I've explained models, I've explained I have a tech stack picture, and I have the general explanation of generative AI, in a non-coding language, explaining everything, right? So the business dimension, the social dimension, the ethical dimension, and the data dimension, and all that good stuff. And so for those of you who already read the book, I had access to it. It's a textbook for my Stanford class, so obviously my students at Stanford have seen it. But for others, I want to make another version of it because I launched this in April. Typically, I would not go back in few months and go put out another release. And I make my books in Kindle and then follow up and publish a print book. I'm kind of debating I should just make another version on Kindle before I get to the print version because the space is shifting so much. I myself have been talking to you about so many new things each week. So I'm wondering whether what kind of things should I include in there, right? So I have the tech stack. I can update the tech stack. I have a bunch of models explained. I can explain more models that have shifted. There's not much change in business models. Um, what else? And in the LLM space, I'm specifically focused on LLM for multiple languages, so I can add to that. I had very little on prompt engineering, so I'm going to add more on prompt engineering. I had very little on fine tuning, so I want to see whether you have more interest in fine tuning, right? If you want to learn more about fine tuning, what are the options out there? One of my other projects is called Weekly Wed. It's my community of students who come together for a global speaker series every week. Many of you know that. So we had a speaker called Abhinaya Mahendran from India who works on Tamil language and adding to open source to make it inclusive for Tamil language for LLM models. And she did such a fantastic job of explaining generative AI models and fine tuning and what are the challenges in getting the models to work for multiple languages. We got just to the beginning of her work on specifically with Tamil language, what she's doing and her open source contribution, but we're going to bring her back. Hopefully she'll give us time again. So if you're new to this, if you follow my YouTube, you will see a playlist of all the weekly vid that has been going on for 5-6 years, all the different weekly speakers. So you will find this one last week's weekly vid is at 8 a.m. Pacific time, 17-hour in Nigeria and Europe. And so you can see the recording there. And we usually stream it also onto LinkedIn. So here I'm streaming this onto my own personal profile. And so if you are following me on LinkedIn, you get this Sudha Live notification and you can tune in. And there is another site called Business School of AI. That's where I host my online courses, and that's where we host the weekly wed. And in Business School of AI on LinkedIn is a group, and you can join that. That is where the weekly wed will stream. All the other different classes and free stuff that I do streams in there. So you can follow Business School of AI in there. You should be able to get the stream. Just do my YouTube for the playlist or just watch it. You will get this Mahendran's talk from last week. And one of the things that I saw about this week was Baidu has launched a chatbot, like a chat GPT competition. All the news kind of uh, sensationalizes it, saying, oh, there is the chat GPT, there's a chat GPT equivalent from China, and because it's from Baidu is right here in Mountain View, and their own self-driving car that roams around here. along with everything else. So the news is little sensationalized, but Baidu has essentially launched um, a chatbot equivalent, like ChatGPT equivalent, called Ernie Bot, and it's available in Chinese. And that's what the news. And they call it global because it's available in all app stores. So you could be here in US like me, download it in the app store, but it is a ChatGPT that chats only in Chinese. And so you might say, hey, it's only in Chinese. I don't know Chinese, and I don't know Chinese either. But when we are talking in ChatGPT and it talks only English, and it is supposed to understand 95 other languages, but it knows very little of those languages, that's the feeling anybody else would get if they did not know enough English, or if they want to have a conversation with somebody in a more natural way in their language, in their local countries. And so that's the feeling I got when I heard about this, and say, okay, if it is going to talk Mandarin and I don't know Mandarin, then that's what it means. But what is interesting for me is two things. Forget the sensationalizing of the news, okay? That this is from Baidu, right? Like many other tech companies here, this is from Baidu. But the fact that it is fully in Chinese shows about the research and development that is available in Chinese LLM space. In my generative AI book, I've obviously included a couple models from China in Chinese language and the data sets. And, when I gave the different models and explanations of that, I've included that. But this is the first real implementation, which is an extensive chat GPT equivalent built purely in Chinese. So I'm intrigued by that. And second thing is, they also said that they went through the compliance of generative AI guidelines and got okay from the Chinese government, because our government here in US doesn't have regulation on generative AI, and the Chinese government seems to have a regulation. And so they went through that regulation, okayed it, and then it was launched in the App Store. So that was another intrigue for me of what is this regulation from China for generative AI? What does it include? And tech companies like Baidu are following it. Why are they following it? What are we missing out here in US if we are not following any kind of regulation? And talking of regulation, there is a big meeting that is coming up, a closed room meeting hosted by the US Senate, with leaders from all possible tech companies. I'm not going to name names, you know them. And bring, I don't know how they got all of them into their calendar at the same time, but they're all together in one room. But the interesting thing is, this is the tech company. We've already had meetings of tech companies coming to Congress and talking about the impact of generative AI, impact on jobs, copyright laws, and stuff like that. So this looks like a regulation meeting to get input from the market, and it brings multiple stakeholders. So one is all the tech companies, and then it has head of Writers Guild, a certain labor organizations, and the like. So it's interesting to see the impact of this tech that is built on jobs, essentially looks like the concern. And then they're trying to have a discussion about that. What will come out of it, I don't know. We've not had much regulation in US on any kind of technology, typically, except privacy laws. uh, that too, our privacy laws for data are pretty much behind compared to Europe, which is with GDPR. So I'm curious on what comes out of it, but it's a very welcome step to even bring everybody together in a bipartisan way to have this conversation to do something about it. So I'm intrigued to know about that. The other thing is Patrick Lynn, who is the author of Machine See, Machine Do, who has come and spoken in my Stanford class and also at Weekly Vet before, is coming back. Because I was chatting with Patrick and I said, who knows regulation? Who knows the ethical implications of things? Not just talking about AI ethics and fairness and bias and screaming about it, but has practical experience and does something about it. And FTC is hosting an investigation on OpenAI, and OpenAI is saying that they continue to scour the web to train their models, the ChatGPT and GPT 3, 4 are all less from OpenAI, and they're justifying that it is okay to scour internet data to train their train their models, and FTC is hosting an investigation on them. And Patrick is very aware of this. So Patrick is going to come to Weekly Vet this coming Wednesday, and he's going to educate us on what is this FTC investigation. And I'm going to ask Patrick about this whole Ernie bot and the regulation from China. So we get a holistic picture of what is happening in the regulation space, and specifically what is this FTC investigation of OpenAI. And so it gives us a sense of not just talking about harm from generative AI, because there is so much good potential from generative AI. So on one end, I'm a believer that you cannot just complain, and the other end is you cannot just pretend everything is hunky-dory and feel wonderful about the power of technology and ignore the harm, because this is so pervasive. It's impacting so many people, jobs, and so many different people from around the world. So this is much bigger than any of our past technologies. So this is time for us to get a good education on regulation. I've been talking to Susanna Raj, AI ethicist, to come and do another inclusive AI ethics course on generative AI. She's been working on it. Hopefully, now I'm back after my travel. I'll be able to look at what are the online courses that we might be able to put together and bring something up on Business School of AI. Previously, we've done a series of courses. So usually I teach at Stanford, I teach at LinkedIn, I teach at Barcelona Technology School, and one more place. But then I don't do anything on Business School of AI except the Weekly Vet. And then I say, okay, people are asking me for a lot of courses. I can give them pointers of where to go. I do unique courses that's not available anywhere. If I can give you a pointer on something that's available outside, I'll just do it. I'm not here to create yet another course on something that's already out there. And so I'm looking at generative AI for business, especially if you give me feedback of what you want in the book, and I will see whether that material is available outside, or whether you want to learn fine tuning, whether you want to learn models. I'll figure out generative AI for business, and AI ethics for generative AI from Susanna Raj. There's a couple of them. And we had Ken Aaron come and talk to us about ChatGPT. So I have a good mind to see if Ken can come back and do a course for us, a little bit detail on that, because with UIB, Ken's team has been really building intelligent chatbots for real businesses. When they say AI for conversation and collaboration inside the enterprise, it's people like Ken who are working on it and making it happen. So they know the reality of what is feasible, what is not, and they do it at a global scale. So they know it for various languages. Because UIB connects to various other chat platforms, and not just ChatGPT. So all different messaging platforms. So they're like a big integration with an AI layer that they do. So there are various dimensions to it. So to summarize, ErnieBot has launched, and it is all in Chinese, and and there's a whole bunch of regulation that's going on in US. So Patrick is going to demystify that for us. Look at Abhinaya's talk from Weekly Vet that will give you a sense of generative AI from a various different model perspective and fine tuning. We already had Robert Schwenkter come and talk to us about prompt engineering, and we are looking to see whether you'll be interested in a course on prompt engineering, just dedicated on prompt engineering from Robert. So I need to hear from you. One of the things I do is, because I do many things with many different global groups, I'm very tuned into what you want. You talk to me, I'll bring it to you. And you say, this is redundant, I don't want it, here is a resource, I'm already working on it. Great, I'm happy to share that with the world. Okay, so that is about regulation, that's about the honeypot. There is a whole new trend on multilingual LLM. So we started Global South in AI, that's a nonprofit. So all I've been talking to you is about Business School of AI, which is my course platform, Weekly Vet, which is the free community of my student learners, and Global South in AI is my third project, which is once a year we go to NeurIPS, which is a big AI conference, and we focus on diversity and inclusion in language models. So this is about making chat GPT and general language models specifically to be inclusive of all languages. and there are 7,000 plus languages in the world. Even if ChatGPT truly understands 95 languages, that's nothing. And there are various different languages with zero shot learning and whatnot, which supports 100 or 200 languages in a very minimalistic way. And so we had people who were bringing posters from various different countries on what their language representation is in AI last year. This is before the generative AI buzz. So this year, from Global South in AI at NeurIPS, we are a social affinity group and a nonprofit. We have a call out for a 250-word abstract to tell us how is generative AI being used in your country, in your language. Is there a different way it can be used that you wish for it? We are not asking for a full research paper. We can train you to build a poster if that's what you want, but we will bring you to new rips if you have something interesting to share from your world. So we put this out, and Susanna Raj did a webinar to answer Q&A to people about this last week, and we've got amazing set of submissions. I'm so impressed. We've got submissions from Africa. We have submissions from India. I have not seen many submissions from Vietnam or Far East. I would like to see more of it. I have not seen submissions from Latin America. Somebody told me that you say Latin America in US mainly, so South America, from South American countries, Spanish especially. I'm learning Spanish, so I would like to see more submissions in related to Spanish, because there are various different Spanish and dialects across different countries in South America. So I'd like to see that. And various different African languages. There is a huge group called Masakane. I'm part of it. I just sit there in awe to to listen and watch what different people are working on. And I saw some submissions from there. So if you're part of Masakane, we want to see more submissions from African languages. If you're in Latinx in AI, we want to see more submissions from Latin American, South American countries. And please help me reach more Japan and Vietnam and Singapore and Singlish and many various other languages out there. This week, Google had announced that they have multi-language support in search. And Hema Budraju is a product leader that I've had the pleasure of working with in my corporate past at eBay. And she had shared this announcement about this search from Google, where they had support for Japanese language and a few more other languages, but Japanese was the one that stuck me. And so I've not seen any submissions on how generative AI is used in Japanese language in Japan. What applications, is that good enough, and is there limitations? Talk to me. I would love to help you, or come to globalsouthinai.org. We have a Slack group if you want to come talk to us there, or just make a submission and tell us how generative AI is used in your world. You like it? Is there a harmful case? Do you not like it? Or is there an application that you want to see? Because I believe, from what I saw from my visit to Chennai, to the Bay of Bengal, I have a story there for you, but I wanted to give you the tech analysis before I got to that story. Is people here we are saying in global south and global north and English and non-English, but when you go to any country, people are just living their life. They're excited about tech if they are people who have access to tech, and then they want to learn it, they want to contribute, like Abhinaya Mahendran is doing. And we had a bunch of people who submitted last year's poster who came from various different countries, so they're all doing their thing in their country. So that is happening. So the interesting story I wanted to tell you is, so I walked along the beach, the Bay of Bengal in Chennai. I wanted to see sunrise, so I was walking early morning, and I'm not an early morning person. And I went for 3 days continuously. And each day, there was a fisherman who came and brought a set of shells, big, huge shells, clams and shells, conch shells from the sea, and set it up. I was actually hoping to I brought one of those pink looking big, this huge clam shell. I was hoping to have it ready to show it to you. I don't have it handy. So they were setting it up on the beach for sale, right? And I talked to them. There's three of them, one per day, in the same place, right? And so I heard a story, and it's interesting. They look the same, all three of them, right? And they're fishermen. and local ones, and they speak Tamil, which is a local language. I speak Tamil. And so what happened is they told me, and it turns out that the first guy I met was a Christian, the second day the one I met was a Hindu, and the third day the one I met was a Muslim. And there's this beautiful music from the church early morning, because remember this, I'm trying to see sunrise just before sunrise. So I heard that from the church one day, and similarly I heard this beautiful music from the mosque one day, and this is all just around the beach in the same neighborhood. And so they are all living there, right? And so but the common story they had was, they generationally are fishermen who are living there in that neighborhood, and they go out to the sea, and specifically they go hunt for clams to get to find pearls. So they had this huge mother of pearl shells, and then they also showed me that there is a pearl inside, pearl being formed, and they were explaining to me how they take it, how they get it into a bead, and all that stuff. They showed me beautiful pearls which I didn't buy, but they were amazing. So the interesting thing was, they said we've been doing this generationally, and I said, how do you do this? Is it available nearby? And you go into the deep sea. They said we have to go into the deep sea, and we go in boats early morning, and we try to fish and find these, or they dive in deep. I think it's not fishing, they dive in deep and get it. And then if they find one of these which is good, then they said we mark it with GPS, and we come back. Then another batch of us goes back next day, because now we know there's a whole colony of these clams which are making pearls. And so for me, it was very fascinating, because they are not educated people. They are doing this generationally for a couple generation. They are locals. They're not speaking English, and but they know how to do this clam diving and fishing. I'm calling it fishing because they're fishermen, but to get clam from the sea, but they're using GPS. So it was like mind blowing for me. And and then I just realized that they are just sitting and doing their thing, because their job is to get this, they want to sell this, so they've set up a little, like a shop in the beach. It's not even a shop, like a little spread in the beach, and then they're just trying to sell this to us as we are tourists, or joggers in the morning and stuff like that. So this goes back to what I've been talking about, that when we say global south and they're speaking a different language and they're doing that thing, it doesn't matter. They're using technology for what they want to do, which is mark the spot in the sea using a GPS. And how they will use ChatGPT or generative AI, I don't know. But as a person who's written about IoT and AI in all forms, I can see where AI is used for weather prediction, and then there was this excitement in India because they launched Chandrayaan 3, which is a rover to the south pole of the moon. And so there's science and AI being used in different parts of India in different ways, and this fisherman is just using GPS. And still, ChatGPT is not available for his language, and I don't know what he would do if we give it to him. And so it brings us back to those of you who are watching from various places. I'm very big on, I sit in Silicon Valley, and I'm very, very paranoid that I don't want to kind of close up and think this is it. And so I travel the world, I talk to everybody. I'm very big on reaching out to diversity of peoples and experiences, and all my events and stuff are focused on that. And so I want you to tell me at globalsouthinai.org, come tell us in 250 words, is generative AI available in your world? Do you care? Do you not care? Is it an issue that it is leaving you behind if it is not supporting your language? Or is there an application that you would like to see if it can provide support? Because our goal is to collect this, to bring you to new rips, and collect you with the broader AI community who is sitting and building AI for the world. So it was very humbling for me to say, you cannot sit and build AI for the world from anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter, Silicon Valley or anywhere. And we have been preaching this in my AI ethics class, because we do that in tech, in industry, that we try to get a diverse set of people. We have product managers, we have QA, we have designers, we have all kind, and now we have anthropologists, we always have lawyers and accountants, and we have all kinds of people in the team deciding on AI before it goes out to the customer. So the data scientist, then the engineer, product manager, and the people who own the data and do all the other stuff with data wrangling and stuff to prep for the training data. But then the rest of the team is diverse set of people, and we are like very proud we need diverse set of people. And we are also talking about how we need people with different perspectives to represent AI in the design. And I have a book on AIX design, but it was very humbling for me. That's why I said it was existential for me, because everything pales in front of that fisherman who doesn't care about ChatGPT. And what am I doing there? And so I want you to tell me whether generative AI exists in your world, if it is a non-English speaking country, or you're working with any non-English language that is not natively trained in generative AI. Talk to us. We want to know, what can it do? Because AI is pervasive, it should help everybody in the world. Any technology that doesn't serve customers, doesn't solve real problems for people, is a fad and it'll go away. I've seen several waves of technology like that. So that's what I was thinking. So Susan has done well in getting you to submit in Mali, in so many languages. I would like to see more from Far East. I would like to see various Spanish ones. Indigenous languages. We don't have any indigenous language submissions from anywhere in the world. So I would love to see that. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, arguments, you can talk to me. I love arguments, and I would like to listen to see what is your argument on that. But I want to bring you to NeurIPS to work with the broader tech community to make sure that your point of view is integrated, especially with the Google search launch saying they provide support to Japanese. It's fantastic. Now, what other languages did they consider supporting? I know Bari language from South Sudan is not supported by any of the big tech translators. Why is it? Don't tell me just because it's a low resource languages. There are several low resource languages. There's got to be more in how inside technology companies, they're prioritizing and saying, can we use this language or not? Because now with this whole fine tuning with foundation models, you can have very little data set, and then you can create a chat GPT like intelligent chatbot with a new language, or you can create the model uh, by transfer learning from a foundation model to another language with a model like Bloom. So there's a lot of possibilities. So I would like to see what you want to see in the world, because we'll make it happen. So I'll at least help you if you talk to me or you come and make a submission to Global South in AI. And Patrick is going to talk to us about the regulation and the FTC investigation of OpenAI. So hopefully we learn about regulation and what's happening with this, with the whole FTC investigation, and can we regulate AI? How is it being regulated? What is right and wrong? I'm as eager as you to learn that, to bring it to my students. And the last thing is, I am going to be traveling back in a month's time to Barcelona. To Barcelona Technology School, where board, and it's one of my fun visits I do once a year. And I would like to see you if you're my students. If you're there, I would like to meet you. Um, Other than that, I've been getting pings for generative AI workshops. I would like to see if there is an interest from anybody there, because I go for this board meeting and then I can stay for a week. So I can do either in Barcelona or some other place in Europe and see what I can do. Like I have a generative AI workshop, a half day or one day for companies. And there is another teaching, I said the fourth one I do, right? Is at EMBA Consortium in San Jose State at Lucas School here in San Jose. So EMBA Consortium is, I think it is 7 or 8 MBA universities from around the world, which come together, executive MBA programs that come together, and they end up doing a Silicon Valley visit. That's when I get to meet them, and I think they go visit across multiple different seven other universities, right? And for knowledge sharing and learning. And I usually visit them once a year when they come here to San Jose and talk to a group of executives from various different companies. So if you have been my student at the Embark Consortium and taken a course or lesson from me last year, if you're in Europe, maybe I can help you with the generative AI workshop. Or if you're anybody else, if you think there is value in the generative AI. So generative AI for business, fine tuning, explaining models, but thinking of the a strategic angle on how will you help your business with this is kind of the workshop that I'm looking at. So if that is of interest to you, happy to help you. So let me know as I'm planning my trip week, the first week of October. I would like to see whether I can go to Germany or Italy. I'm looking at Italy right now for one other company who's calling me, but I would like to do that if that's of interest to you. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. And like I said, the Jamthe newsletter, bit.ly/Jamthe newsletter, one word, has all the past archive and the various links that I've shared, he mentioned here. I will share that as reading material, plus also the different set of jobs and events that I will be sharing. There is a whole Women in AI awards that is coming up. They promised to give me a big creative listing all the winners, and I have been selected as one of the 12 winners. They have 11 of them as jury selection winners, and one of them will be picked live out of 95 finalists. And it's a huge gala that's going to happen in Toronto on October 18th. And so I'm going to be sharing more about that in the next week when we do the Sudha live. So with that, I want to wrap up and hope you all stay safe. And I look forward to meeting you all either at Weekly Wed or next week at Sudha live. And I hope to hear from you if you want to meet me in Barcelona, or if there is something I can do to help you or your company or your group. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe and ciao.